Welcome to a new episode of Treasure Chest. Today with the topic exploring big data and artificial intelligence in retail. I'm Björn, co-founder and managing director at Fulfillment Tools, and I'm delighted to welcome our today's guest, Robert. Yeah, how to describe Robert? Innovator, founder, expert, I think especially for the topics of today. And welcome, Robert. Yeah, tell us a few words of yourself.
Thanks, Björn. So actually, I didn't really know that we are doing that in English, but that's probably something which is, I think, cool. I like that. Yeah, for myself, keep it short. I'm probably one of the oldest here in that building. And I'm working now in that role for roughly 10 years. I think we started off together more than 10 years ago with a delivery service.
Yes.
So cool times until then. And we started up a few companies until then. And my background is a little bit weird. I'm an aerospace engineer, physicist, mathematician, and some kind of computer science guy. Did a few things in the old legacy systems like Java. And but in the meantime, I was always interested in changing or solving big problems, world problems. Did that in my first life with airplanes. In my later life, I did that, obviously, what you have seen with a food delivery service and all the things coming along with that. So that's basically me. 4 kids, 60 plus, and still having fun.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much. Yeah, our topic today, big data and AI, artificial intelligence. And I would say you are an expert in that topic, especially here within the REWE group. But perhaps for our audience, can you give us a short definition of yourself to these two words?
Yeah, actually, when I started off with that topic, it was roughly in the mid-90s, long time ago. It was never called AI at that day. At these days, it was called expert systems. And at these days, we worked with something so-called heuristics, which is based on rule of thumb, knowledge, and all these things. We didn't really use neural networks. But I would define artificial intelligence as we have it now with the upcoming capabilities of neural networks. So training with data, not only with some knowledge, but data as such, I think is most important for these kind of things. With the upcoming methodology of machine learning, and obviously with the latest stuff with generative AI, where we bring it with the LLMs to the real maximum what we have now. And maybe we talk later on that. How is it going to develop further on will be also an interesting journey. Looking back, roughly almost 30 years now, it takes a long time and ups and downs in that development of these things. For the moment, I think we have passed the big up in the Gartner hype cycle, for example. Last year, it was one of the major topics. This year in October, we have seen, kind of. It's going down a little bit. People are not really frustrated, but they are seeing some development, how to focus on certain topics. But still, the old topics on the data is still valid. And I think it will be useful only if you have the right data and use it for these domains or for our domains in a very specific way.
I think that's a very important topic, no? Data. And for the whole topic of AI, you need data to feed it, to work with it, etc. I remember you have founded the Big Data Tribe within REWE Digital. Exactly for that reason?
Actually, I had that in mind, but I didn't really believe at these days. I don't know, it's roughly 6 or 7 years ago with one of my colleagues or our colleague. At these days, I think we realized that it might help us doing better algorithms based on these things. We had a rough idea what it may mean. I think, was it called the recommendation engine we had at these days? I think that was one of the main purposes for our customers based on the data, what they have bought and what they might need in their journey, life journey in the households. We were trying to optimize the recommendations for them. That was a very early start with the delivery service at these days. But obviously, in logistics and all other ways, we have even more data, larger scale and all these things. And nowadays, with combining all these data in one big data pool, data mesh, that's the scheme we are using here. That's the basis of using AI, not generative AI, but AI as such, for advanced analytics and helping our customers to make better decisions. But also internally, not only customers and customers, but also the B2B customers we typically have.
When we get back to AI, big data, what is the status in retail in general? Because I would say, no, AI especially. The translation of AI, it's huge. It goes from to, and Gen AI is currently the most spoken topic with AI, etc. Where do you see where we are in retail in general? And what is the focus in the retail currently? And what would you say is missing when we look at that topic?
When I remember back these days, when I was discussing with my colleagues, how do we set up these things, whether we actually find the people dealing with all that data, we might get in trouble because we are only in retail. Pretty boring stuff at the end, I was told. But it turned out it was the most interesting stuff in that world because we have so much and so many data, different data, that it was easy to find analysts, big data engineers, all the people with that knowledge to work with us and for us and solving maybe not known problems yet. So at these days, I think we were really successful and we extended that over time and we put it more to different focus areas. And so therefore, the retail industry as such has obviously data, but at the same time, there are only a few companies actually using that to the max. At REWE, I think we are using that already really to the max. We have a very large team with one of our colleagues, Ralph. And there are so many different specialists, as I told, data engineers, analysts, working on optimizing markets, logistics, and all these things. I think it's roughly 200 people right now. So we are, as REWE, we are in a situation which is really cool. So we know how to deal with the data. We are not, from an, let's say, technology perspective, with the latest stuff. Also, it means organizational changes, introducing not only data lakes, data mesh, data fabrics, and all these things which come along with that. But I think we are, for a retailer, we are on a good way, but the market as such is still a little bit behind.
And next to REWE, who is leading in that field, especially in retail?
I would say that if I look over the Atlantic, it's probably in the US, the big players like Walmart, what I can sense and what I know from them, they are really far ahead. So they're actually using lots of data, even more data. They don't have that kind of hurdle or some kind of topic like GDPR. It's somewhat easier for them. Technology-wise, they are cooperating with the big tech companies, not only Google, but Amazon, Azure, Microsoft, and all these things. So they have a good support. They have also enough people because they realized in retail, it's working with these data is just fun. It's easy, and there is a purpose with these things, so it makes it easy. It's not working like Facebook working only with personal data. It's more like what is needed in your daily life. So these are the companies which are leading the pack. And obviously, if I look into the other direction, into Asia, It's probably the big Chinese companies like Alibaba with AliExpress and all the AliYun back-end topics. And they are already in the situation where they combine all this kind of information in the so-called super apps like WeChat, what's the other one? Can't remember the name, but there are a few super apps which combine all the different data in one application for the customers. So they are ahead of us.
What would you say when you say purpose, especially in the US, etc.? They have a purpose, and purpose is most of the time okay. What are the benefits behind it, no? For customers, for employees, etc. What would you say? What do you see is the benefits at the end currently, no? And what next benefits when you look forward into the future?
Yeah, maybe there are different viewpoints we have to consider. One of, I would call that the major interesting part for us as REWE is try to keep cost and our margin hopefully in a field where we can live with that, because we are in a low margin business. So we have to be very smart setting up all these things with big data and AI and the cost coming along with that and having real benefits out of that. So cost factor is one thing, but cost comes along with the acceptance of our customers, end customers, so that they benefit also from what we can offer for them. So it's a difficult game, to be honest, because we are still in the very beginning with the big data and AI field. I would expect the next 5 years will be a very game-changing years. I would compare that with the, let's say, late 90s, when we had a technology jump at these days in the compute area, for example, with Java and the application servers and all these things, where we came from a client server setup and going into a more network environment. Later on, we went into the cloud in the mid-2000s, 2008 to 2010, when we went into the cloud. These are the same moments as I would compare that in the technology market. And we are at the moment in the beginning of that. There are not very many applications which are seen for customers, so they don't realize that. But if they realize that AI, big data, helps them to make better decisions, and we can probably, from a marketing perspective, target our customers much better. If they enter a store, we can help them. You are looking probably for these and that, and you have bought these and that. Remember, all these little helpers could make a difference. And on the other side, for us as a retailer, having all that stuff on stock, having that not in our warehouses, but also in the stores, would also be very beneficial. Otherwise, we will lose customers. Customers come from an online experience, for example, and want to have at least the same experience in the offline world. Very difficult, because obviously it takes a lot more to have these things in the store rather than in distributed warehouses.
I know what you mean, yeah. Me as a consumer, I would say Gen AI. First, it was a hype. ChatGPT, etc. And we realized, okay, chatting with this tool is cool and this is easier instead of using Google and getting the information. Also, recommendation service, what you mentioned, is really common. Okay, I buy this and then I get a recommendation for more items I can buy and which fit to me. You said 200 people within REWE are using AI and are experimenting with that. Can you give an example or 2 examples where you have seen early success stories, how you use it, and which are different than Gen AI and we know currently, which are more the next level of it?
Actually, yes. I'm playing obviously a lot with these tools, and at the moment I'm having great fun with the tools coming from OpenAI, like Sora, for example, producing videos and all these things. Kling, for example, is another one. But most of the fun I'm actually having with a Gemini-based tool from Google. It's called Notebook LM. So where I typically put all my research papers in, all my stuff I have collected in terms of my own dissertation, for example, and all these things, and then I can put that in a kind of a chatbot thing, where my kids can ask the chatbot, what did this guy do over the last 30 years? And they can learn from that what I did in research, what I did in my former life, and compare that with the current capabilities. That's really cool. And on top of that, it produces, for example, a podcast completely automatically between two people. So not things we are doing right now, it's done automatically based on the data. That's really cool stuff. And it's a little bit,
Okay, that sounds crazy to one hand, no? Because when I would compare it with myself, no, getting to know my parents, etc., it makes it much easier to get more information out of them instead of talking to them. No, that's sounds cool.
Yeah, so actually
Great opportunity.
They love it. And what I've seen latest is really, you cannot have only the podcast and it's kind of a chatbot you talk to and you ask questions and you get it more or less in a very fast way. It's called the Flash LLMs. You get an answer immediately. As you might know, I have an avatar running here at REWE, and the biggest problem we had last year is the latency. Mm-hmm. With that latest tool, I don't see any latency. This is so incredible. So this as you can imagine, it's 1 year ago we were trying to set these things up, and 1 year after we have reached that point where it's a normal conversation. 1 year only. So this is really cool.
Does the customers at REWE see the benefits actually? Do they really know it, or is it only, like, say, behind the mirror?
No, they could see it, but we only have a few stores where we try these things out. We call these stores pick and go. These are stores which are equipped with lots of sensors. Sometimes maybe they don't like it because they don't understand what's going on, and we try to inform our customers what's actually going on. These pick and go stores use sensors in terms of cameras, in terms of weight sensors in the shelves and other sensors, hall sensors for getting the direction of what you're doing. Technically, it's done by so-called post-it detection, so we can see and we can recognize what you are doing in the store, and you pick and you go. Also, cashier systems are not really needed anymore. It's full automatic. That's where customers can experience that. But to be honest, we are trying to experiment with these things because the common behavior over the last 100 years is obviously completely different. You enter a store, you take a card and you put things in the card, you go to a cashier desk, and then you go out and hopefully you pay before and then you go out. But this has changed. But with the AI stuff, which is not Gen AI here, with the AI stuff, this is completely automatic.
Does it yet have an impact on the layout of stores?
Yes, definitely. Because as you can imagine, having sensors in the store, having walls and having very high ceiling shelves is not really the best case. So you have to keep that in mind. You need a certain height in the stores, certain views, because it's quite expensive to have all these sensors in the stores. So therefore, it is still in a very early stage. But what I can see in the Asian countries, in some US countries, it's a very common setup. We only have a few. So it's again in the Western world and the Eastern world, these things appear more and more. Sometimes also on a low-cost basis. Since we are German, we do it always right and we do it perfect. So therefore, we have high costs. But the general way is going into that direction.
it's what we always hear. No? In Asia, they are far ahead of us, no? In experimenting, etc. Um, do you see in the behavior of the consumer changes due to the technological advantages over the last years? Is it still there, or
Well, the adoption, what we can see of our customers is quite high. Once they have understood how it works, and once we have our own processes in a way that it makes life easier, then they adopt it very fast and they don't change these kind of stores. They try to go into these stores. Some people obviously need more time to feel good. I can't I might remember with one of the first stores where we did that. People came out and asked, well, it feels a little bit strange because did I steal something? I was never asked for, all these things. It's weird. This has changed because more and more stores and more information and press about these things are there. But it may take a couple of years more that customers accept that.
yeah, okay. Especially we Germans, I would say. No? I know it from, I think it was IKEA who first experimented with self-checkout cashier
Yes.
systems, etc. Now you see it more often, but it still feels sometimes a little bit wired. And yeah, do I do it right or not, etc. It takes time, especially for Germans who are more traditional than
Yeah.
others, I would say. Um, all talk about the benefits of AI. No, big data, I would say, is the base of everything. No, to have the right data. Do you also see barriers and risks? Which
Of course, of course, of course. So the biggest risk at the moment is that with that hype, a lot of investments were taken, not only by us, but also by the tech companies, which means that with all these investments and with the fast development of these things, not everything works really cool and good. So it just raises cost without any, let's say, direct measurable benefit. And these costs from the big tech vendors are probably also here a burden for us as retailers. With the low margin business, not an easy one. All the invest we have to take, and with the cloud cost as such, we need to be very smart on what we put into the cloud and what we can control cost-wise on our own premises. We have obviously, as you know, that we have a few data centers which are okay, which are, I think, quite useful. Very, let's say, I would not call it ancient technology, but it's pretty old, pretty stable, and customers also would like stability on our, for example, cashier systems in our stores. And when it comes to edge computing, all these things where AI is, there is a risk attached to that because we are depending on the network, depending on even more components, which may be more complicated and more or less fail-safe than it is today.
okay.
We haven't really tested all these things because we don't have enough stores. With the 8 stores or 10 stores we have with a pick and go, we have a couple of thousand other stores which still work in the normal way. So we'll see over time, and hopefully it comes in waves where we actually could get the same stability, but that's a risk.
Okay, so when I get you right, I would say the dependency of the technology, etc., is very high, and the risk with that increase. And we have to think about it, how to get the control over it,
Yeah.
etc., to keep the control. Other retailers who think about, hey, there's a hype, AI, we have to go on with that. Do you have a tip for them to move forward?
Yeah. So what we at least should do as retailers, we should not put our eggs in just one basket. So I think at least dual vendor strategy is a good idea because technology is changing so quick and so often. Also train your personnel and your staff with the latest stuff, keep them really awake. So this is, I think, key in our industry. And don't jump maybe with a large amount of stores or with a large amount of activities on one boat. More, I would say, proof of concepts is reasonable. Therefore, we do, as you might know, we have that research and innovation team which actually does this with the teams in the group, I think, which is a perfect setup in companies like us, so that not each team and everybody does it on its own, because it's then at the end, as we call it in German, Jugendforscht, it's difficult. So therefore, you need to have these kind of setups. It's obviously a little bit different in each and every enterprise, but this is important so that you keep up with the technology and with the risks of these technologies.
And also keeping up with the focus, no? With a limited capacity, I would say, to experimenting. But are there any quick wins every retailer should take and they don't do?
Yes, definitely. There are quick wins which are actually easy. For example, let's go to Gen AI, latest stuff. Each and everybody in our industry has these huge amount of rules and regulations and all these things which come along with the normal topic in the critical relevant industries. Why not putting all these documents, typically these are PDFs or websites, in one of those big LLMs, train those LLMs with these documents and ask automatically whether some rules are really necessary.
Okay.
Some rules may be have contradicting information, or even fighting against those rules. And on the other side, you do that in probably more than one language. Don't do that. Put it in one language and let it translate automatically. All these things, these are quick wins. It's fairly easy.
So also a first step of deregulation, could it be?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm not here with the legal part of it, but that could be a case to make things easier.
Yeah, okay.
I would also recommend this to the European Union and the people in Strasbourg or in Brussels, but difficult.
Yeah, but perhaps sometimes there are some topics in your regulations who fight against each other, which make no sense, and there could be the chance to make it more transparent for the whole organization. Yes, thank you. When I talk to, let's say, to older people, not you, because you're an expert, but to other older people, when we talk about AI, they often say, "Oh yeah, AI, that is super intelligence," or that's when we humans are replaced by a robot and whatever. Where do you see it, especially in retail? Is there a...
Yeah, you're probably mentioning the general AI topics which are in the press sometimes. I think for the next 5 years, I wouldn't overestimate the latest Gen AI stuff with the LLMs, because it's actually a transformer technology which does only help in certain domains. What it means in the interdomain field, so combining different domains with the transformer technology, I don't think that we actually see major developments with these kind of technologies. With some of my research colleagues, I see a few others where I'm not actually fit enough to talk about that, but this is in my horizon, earliest in 5 to 7 to 10 years. But in the meantime, for the next 5 years, I see major developments in domain-specific AIs. Mm-hmm. After 5 or 7 years, I don't know. We'll see. But I would doubt that it will work with the transformer technology, which is used by the LLMs.
Okay. Last question for this episode. Do you have a big picture in mind how retail looks like in, let's say, 10 to 20 years? How customers, consumers work together with retail?
Yeah, I think it will be a more mixed environment with buying online, buying on the fly, buying in the car, getting delivered wherever I am, where I need it. I can see a lot more flexibility, a lot more automation, as we might know, and as you might know. It's always difficult to have enough personnel in the stores, have enough personnel in the warehouses. We definitely see a lot more robotics in the stores, for example, or warehouses. Maybe not in the stores. But these things come together due to the fact that we don't have enough people working with these things. So I think we have so many open positions at REWE working on the floor. Drivers, truck drivers, all these things will change in the next at least 10, 20 years, I don't know. Because cars may drive automatically. Maybe in 5 years from now, we have tested all these things already. Not in Germany. By the way, we have a self-driving car here in our premise, which was only allowed to drive on our, let's say, area here. It worked. It's working in Asia already. But these will be the things which will also happen here in Europe or in Germany from now on. But it will be more a blended environment between online and offline buying and getting things delivered or just picking them up at the store or packing stations or whatever is there. So the topic, and obviously that's the topic where you stand for, with distributed order management systems, these will be a key factor in that game.
Okay. So, Nirl, last comment on that. People who are afraid of losing their jobs due to AI, it will not happen. There are enough jobs out in the world. These jobs who need perhaps other types like robotics, etc., because we do not find the right people for that. Yeah, that's the first impact we will see.
Definitely. Also, I doubt that AI will make people jobless. There will be other jobs. I think the challenge for most people is, like in my age, do I change my job again? Should I do something different? If it can be automated, it will be automated. So look for your benefit, and you might be even the person who trains the robot.
Yeah.
Not only a physical robot, but also an intelligent robot, and to some extent, and then move on. So there are so many options in life you can do. I've switched a couple of times my my profession, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's good to hear. No? It goes on, and do not be afraid, I would say.
No. It's fun times, to be honest.
Thank you very much. I'm really grateful to have you here on our couch in our office. And great to talk with you about these topics, which are not only a hype, which are really relevant in these times and also for the future. Thank you very much, Robert.
Thanks again.